point at this time. I'd like to, I think all the information's in. I'd like to see this board vote on the issue.
And just move ahead. Okay.
Exactly.
I guess to the CEO. You still have your pen up? Supervisor.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully disagree that this is my question of anybody is reopening the public hearing. That has never been an issue that I know of up here. In terms of council's comment, she is correct when she says it's the prerogative of the board, but it's never constituted a reopening of the public hearing. It's allowed any individual board member to ask questions to clarify the positions prior to a vote. Just so that's clear.
Okay.
I don't see it in that same manner.
Well, I'd like, at this point, I have two supervisors saying no. I've said yes to allowing the question to move forward.
All I've said is I'm ready to vote.
Okay, and obviously you're asking for a yes. Supervisor Colfax.
Well, I think here that the point that is trying to be put out there is that by asking for this supervisor to ask for clarification of a letter in my possession and presumably in the possession of all the other supervisors and has been part of the record, which tends to be overlooked by non-district supervisors. I'm closer to this issue than I suspect any of the other four, maybe not. But the other side of it is here. The other side of it here is that any discussion up here could be construed at any point at any meeting if the input from the public comment is terminated, has ended. A question by a supervisor could reopen it automatically because, and we could continue public input on an infinite basis. So in this particular instance, I would strongly oppose any movement. I appreciate the chair's perspective on it, but it should be very, very clear that there were people who will object to this opening of public comment. Being an attorney, being a representative for the applicant does not give you special status in this body, I don't believe. Maybe I'm wrong on that, Counselor. But I don't think that I could bring in 3 or 4 attorneys and keep the discussion going for the rest of the day again, on the grounds that they have things to provide us with in the way of information, and after all, they represent the other side. I think we're seeing the thrashing of a case, or the thrashing about in a case that, on the face of it, is pretty clear cut.
Thanks, Supervisor. One last time to the CEO. Any comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I have a few comments, and my comments are all process-oriented more than technically oriented. First of all, I represent the County of Mendocino and the Coastal Counties initiative that has been going on with the League of Cities. We have been working very diligently and very hard with the Coastal Commission to establish our credibility as local agencies. And what we have been telling the Coastal Commission is we have the knowledge, wisdom, and the appropriate understanding of the ground rules to make the decisions relating to development in the coastal zone. So I think it's very important that any message that we send out of this supports those comments, that the county is properly prepared to address its own coastal issues and give us the ability to do that. I think our office has been working very hard with the town plan process that is going forward. It is a work in progress, and I think it's probably going to take us an additional 6 months to a year to complete that process. There is the potential that I keep hearing from everybody. I'm certainly not an expert in the area, but after we get done with the town plan process, it may potentially require us to do an EIR because we are making changes to that particular town plan. Then I have concerns about how we allocate units. We have a number of illegal units. I think everybody has borne testimony to that fact. We do not have a procedure nor policies adopted by this board. How are we going to deal with the illegal units that have existed in the past or currently exist, and how are they going to be made legal, and who gets priority? How do we determine that one player in the process gets all the units versus a number of units? I don't think we've had that philosophical discussion. And then finally, as I look in the advertisement for this particular piece of property, what I see is currently for sale in the open market and is advertised as having 41 units available as part of the $10.5 million price. As I go through and I try and construct that 41 units, and talking to our treasurer tax collector, she tells me McCallum House, for instance, had on June 26, 2002, there was an application and it had 19 units. However, on the license, it was noted that there were 21 units. So there are 2 units above what they were licensed for and actually requesting that license. Then the suites is advertised at 9 units. However, it was registered on January 28, 2004 for 5 units. So I can only assume the difference between the 5 and the 9 is the fact that the applicant is advertising their property anticipating that they're going to get the 4 units that are being requested here as part of this process. Then I get to the Village Inn, which was registered in 1972 for 13 units. However, it was re-registered in May of 92 for 12 units and only audited for 12 units. So as I go through the numbers and I look at the 19 that were authorized plus the 5 for the suites, I come up with a total there of 24, and then the 12 that were registered, that gives me 36, and yet the applicant is advertising for sale of 41 units. So I think it just demonstrates to our office why we need to be careful about the process, why we need to take a look at all of the units that are out there, legal or illegal, and who are paying for those various units. And again, our comments are purely made in the attempt for your board to understand there are a number of process issues here, and our office feels that we need to take a further look at legal units, illegal units, and what is currently allocated. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a point of order and object again. You have heard new information.
Mr. Carter, I understand that, and I would
Well,
ask...
I want to finish my point, Mr. Chairman. I'm entitled to make a point of order.
Well, I believe you're out of order, Counselor.
No, it's not out of order to make a point of order. I object to the receipt of new information. Just as attorneys, I agree 100% with Mr.
Excuse me,
Colfax
Mr. Chair,
that
why are you
attorneys
allowing
don't
him to
have
continue when you just told him he was
special
out of order?
position,
It's
but
not
neither
appropriate.
does this Mr. Mitchell, for whom I have great respect. This introduction
Mr. Chairman, if you're not going to do this, would you pass the gavel to
Mr. Carter?
your vice chair
Mr. Carter,
to enforce the
please.
rules of this body?
Please sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you. A concern I have, outside of the discussion that was just made, this entire situation of the Mendocino Town Plan visitor serving facilities is an absolute embarrassment to the county of Mendocino.